This stack is quite large. Hi guys, I'm Libby and we are going to be doing May and June's Shrink the Shelf because June got a bit busy for me, and so I figured as I was getting closer and closer to the end of June, I might as well put May and June together because June wasn't a huge reading month, at least physical wise. Also in May, I did a challenge with my book club, plus my husband, where we had points for the different kinds of books that we read and things like that, trying to get things off of our physical shelves as much as possible. It was me, Megan, and Ash, two of the book girlies, versus Caroline, Kaylee, and my husband, Michael. Our team won. It was so close. It was neck and neck for a lot of it. Michael's team got 690 points. My team got 714. Caroline was the top contributor in their team with 344 points by herself. Megan was our top contributor with 375 points. They read 30 books in total. We read 31. Megan and Caroline both reading the max number of books at 16. Altogether, we read 61 books as a whole group of 6 people, so that's pretty cool in just 1 month. The person who got the most negative points was actually Megan as well. She got 2 books from subscription boxes, and so that got her negative 20. But for the most part, like, we did really good on not getting any negative points. The person who had the best, I say PPB, point per book, so they were, you know, getting the most points for every book that they got, and that was me. I had averaged a 25.9 points per book. I was really kind of strategic about which books I was going to read because I wanted to get us the most points because I know I'm not a fast reader. So I was trying to help out my team as much as I could. The person who was the biggest unhauler was Kaylee on the other team. She unhauled 12 physical books and 12 digital books, which is pretty impressive. I think I only unhauled like a couple. I'll tell you when we get to the Shrink the Shelf portion. And then the person who was the biggest buyer, who bought the most books, was my husband, Michael. He bought 3 ebooks. He read all of them in the same month. He's very good about that. If he buys a book on like ebook, he pretty much reads it immediately because he only buys it if he's going to be then reading it. And he was reading a series, so he just bought the next one, read it, then bought the next in the series, read it, continued. So even though he's the biggest buyer, he's still good. Most points for just 1 book was 43 points. I believe that was one of Megan's books because she had it for so long. It like was part of a series, had a good amount of pages, all kinds of stuff. And then the least points for 1 book, I think, was also Megan, which was 4 points. And it was because she finished a book, Kiki's Delivery Service, but it was borrowed and it was a really short book, so she only got like 4 points. But yeah, that was really fun. I really enjoyed it, and as you will see in my Shrink the Shelf for May, we did pretty good. Pretty amazing. I myself got 292 points, just myself alone, so I think that's pretty awesome. So we started May with 40 books, which is really close to what our starting number was, I know, but I had a lot of motivation to do really well in this challenge and just to try to get those pages down as much as I could. I also wasn't, you know, trying to put on a musical at the same time, so that helped. I was still working for all of May. That was our last month of school, so I was still doing work and things like that, but I still got so much reading done. I'm so proud of me. And I think that also explains why in June I was just kind of burnt out from work as well as a little bit from reading. I wanted to relax and just enjoy my other hobbies, so you'll see how it shakes out. We start, yeah, that's how tall it is. That's how high I have to go up. We start the month of May reading Long Live Evil. This is one of my fairy loot books. I do own it physically, so that is one off of the physical TBR. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was really cool. I was like half enjoying it towards like this later half, and then the ending, I need the second book. So that gets us to 39 already. Then I read another physical book. I read Everland. This was obviously physically owned. It's part of my 25 and 25. I've owned this book for quite some time, so I was really happy to finally start this series. It's only a 3-book series. I have 2 of the books. I started it. I really liked this one. It's like a Peter Pan retelling. So that gets us to 38. And then I did unhaul 2 books, 2 physical books. Don't even remember what they were, but they were books that I was like, I'm never going to read these, I don't think. I think one of them was like Cyrano de Bergerac, and I think the other one was Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, the play version. I have the like book that it's based off of, and I really like the book better. I tried to read the play, I think one time. I've seen it in person, so I was like, I don't really need the play version. And I have the play version at school if I ever really need to read it if I want. So yeah, that gets us down to 36. I don't have them here, obviously, because I unhauled them. They're gone. And then I finished Out for Blood. I finally finished it. The book that I started January 1st, I finished in May, and I was so proud of myself. Yes, I did finish it after we finished doing the musical Carrie, but I didn't care because I was so excited to have finished this. It made me feel good because a good chunk of it I did in May, like this much of it, and I didn't feel like I needed to know that information for doing the show. So that made me feel better about waiting so long to read it. So that one's done. Yay. Also part of my 25 and 25, I believe. So that's great. So that gets us down to 35. Look at us go. And then I read Full Monty. It is a musical about doing the full Monty, which is going naked. I didn't like it. It feels very much like an early 2000s musical. Just some of the comedy feels very outdated. Reading it today, the music also just like isn't good. So yeah, didn't really like that, but I owned it physically. It's gone now because I said I don't need this anymore, but I owned it physically, so that got us down to 34. Yay. And then I read Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis, my bad, by Bonnie Garmis. This was so good. I loved it so much. I know this was like a big thing a couple years ago, and I'm a little late to the game getting to it, but it was so good. Oh, I loved it. I loved it so much. But yes, I own it physically in the little cute UK copy. I believe this is also one of my 25 and 25. So another one of those done. And that gets us down to 33 on the TBR. Then I read Mysteries of Thorn Manor, which if you saw my April video, I had just got this. And I read it because it's tiny. It's really short. I actually listened to it, even though I own it physically. I listened to it because it was like 4 hours, and I was like, oh, that'll be easy. And I was already in the middle of reading quite a few different physical books, so I just listened to it. It was pretty good. I think I would like enjoy it more if I read it immediately after I read the first book, but it was just fun. So that gets us down to 32 on our physical TBR. And then my Fairy Loot book came in, so we're gonna go up. Fairy Loot book for May was The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. She wrote like One Dark Window, that little series, which I have read One Dark Window, and I didn't read the second one because I enjoyed it for the most part, but it wasn't like amazing to me. And I asked my friend who read the second one, she was like, yeah, you don't need to read the second one, it's fine. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool. But I'm intrigued by this one, but not like ecstatic about this one getting it, because I have seen other people really excited for it and then they're disappointed. So I don't know if it's just they have high hopes for her and then they're disappointed by it, or if it's just like it's a pretty good just standard book. I don't know, but it's very pretty, as all Fairy Loot books always are. So that gets us up to 33 again. And then I finished another book. I finished Umberland, which is the second in the Everland series. This one's an Alice in Wonderland retelling. I wasn't a huge fan of this one. I definitely liked the Everland one a lot more, and then I feel like this one just meh. I talk a good bit about why I didn't like it in my 24-hour readathon, which I will link up above. But that gets us down to 32 books. Then I read another Fairy Loot, The Night Ends with Fire. I got this one last year, so that's good. I'm trying to get all of the ones that I got from last year read, and then at least half of the ones that I get in this year. I haven't read any of the ones that I've gotten this year. There's quite a few that I'm like, I really want to read that one. So it's gonna happen. It was pretty good. I again talk about this one in my 24-hour readathon. But that gets us down to 31 books. Yay. And then I read Percy Jackson, The Titan's Curse. It was a reread because I'm rereading the series, so it doesn't really count towards lowering my physical TBR, So we just stay at 31. I did buy a book. I bought Remarkably Bright Creatures. I've read it before though, so it doesn't add to my TBR. I read it before, I absolutely love it. I listened to it when I first read it, and I really wanted my own physical copy, and I hated the hardback version of it because it was just so huge. And I saw that they have a paperback version out now, and it has sprayed edges. I'm picky about my sprayed edges, but this one's cute because it's like all coral and then it's little fishies at the top. So I thought that was cute. And it's a nice kind of small version of the book, and I really like that. It has a really nice texture too. But yes, I did buy one book in the month, but it's a trophy book, so it doesn't count. And then I did unhaul another book. It was London Seance Society. It was one of my book of the month books that I was still holding on to, and I decided I'm probably never gonna read this, so I just had no need to want to read it, and if I were to read it, maybe I'd like listen to it or something later. That one left. So we end May with 30 books on my TBR. A nice solid 30. Went down 10 from the end of April. So we're going to quickly go through some of my stats for the end of May because we still have to get through June. Bought one book. It was just my trophy book, so that's great, even though I did get my Fairy book. We know that. At the end of May, I was currently reading Red Rising with my husband. We're reading it like out loud to each other, going back and forth, switching off chapters, because he really, really likes that series. He's completely caught up on it. It's not finished yet, but he's completely caught up on it, and he really wants me to read it. And we've already mapped out what other series that we want to read together. I think it's really fun. I was currently reading Fragile Enchantment on my ebook, and I started Dating and Dragons by Christy Boyce. So I was reading all of those at the end of May. And my wanna read was my summer TBR. I made an entire spreadsheet of 30 books that I wanna read over the summer. Not all 30 of them are physical books that I have, and a good chunk of them are rereads. So it doesn't mean, oh cool, you're gonna get from 30, you're gonna get all 30 books done. No, because some of them are books that I don't own because it's the last one in a series and I don't know if I want to buy it, but I do want to finish the series. So there's some of those that I just want to get finished. There's my Percy Jackson rereads, but a good chunk of them will lower the TBR. So we're starting June at 30 books on my physical TBR. And I went to Disneyland at the very beginning of June. So I didn't have a lot of reading time because I was at the parks and having a great time. I did have a lot of reading time on the plane, so I did bring Dating and Dragons with me because I was like a good halfway through the book before we even left, and I was like, I don't want to stop reading this for a week, but I don't know if I want to bring it with me because I'm gonna finish it in like 2 seconds. And I did. I finished it literally, I think on the first flight. If not the first flight, like immediately into the second flight. I loved it. I absolutely love her little fluffy writing. It was so fun. I finished that pretty immediately. It was 5 stars. And that got us down to 29. And then I read Fragile Enchantment here and there throughout being at Disney, and then I finally finished it on the plane back. I own it, but it's an ebook version, so I read it on my Kindle. So we still stay at 29, but that is one of my 25 and 25 also done. And then my friend Megan got her bookshelves done, and she was putting her books back on these new beautiful bookshelves and like reorganizing and looking at her books and unhauling some. So I got some books because she has a lot of also really pretty books and also some really good books. And also our tastes are very similar, but they're also pretty dissimilar. There's been quite a few books that I rated 5 stars that she rated low, and some that she rated 5 stars that I rated low. So we go back and forth. Because they're free, I might as well try them. So I got After the Forest by Kel Woods. I just thought this looked really intriguing, and it felt very much up my alley, as well as it's beautiful. Like, look at this. Beautiful. And I also like how like little it is. It's an Illumicrate version of this. She gets Illumicrate as well. I only get Fairy Loot. So that gets us up to 30. I also got Lore of the Wilds by Annalise Brana. I've been wanting to try this out for a while, but I never wanted to purchase it myself. And then she got it and was getting rid of it. So I was like, well, I might as well get it so I can at least try it, because if it's on my shelves, then I will have more motivation to try it. So that gets us up to 31. And then the last book, I only got 3 books from her, but the last book that I got from her was A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. And I've been wanting to read this series, been wanting to start this series. And she said it was fine. And I'm like, that doesn't mean it's not good. Because there's some books that I have that I'm keeping on, but I think eventually I will probably unhaul, but I'm just not there yet. Because they're good, but they're not like my favorites, if that makes sense. So I still want to try it, see if it's good, and now I don't have to buy the first book or anything like that, and I can just read it physically. And it's a Fairy Loot edition, if you couldn't tell, so very pretty. So that gets us up to 33. Oh my gosh, this pile. I did finish An Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love, but I was just listening to that from the library. I really didn't like it. I don't think India Holton is for me. I also read Shadow and Bone, but that was an ebook as well because I didn't want to buy the series if I didn't like it. And I really did like the first one, so I have the second one borrowed already. Doesn't change the TBR. And then I read Wires and Nerve, which is a graphic novel within the same Lunar Chronicles world, which I absolutely love the Lunar Chronicles, so I was really excited to read that. And I really enjoyed it, but it was still just from the library, although I do want to have a physical copy of, it's a duology graphic novel. I really want to have physical copies of them, and I've wanted them for so long. So that was also just from the library. So we stuck at 32, but then we also got our Fairy Loot book for June, which is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I'm really interested in this one. It is so pretty. Oh, and I thought it was sapphic. And I don't know if it's not. This is why I thought it was sapphic. And I don't think it isn't, but I don't think it's like completely 100% confirmed. I don't know, but it's 3 different like storylines of 3 different women from 1532, 1827, and 2019. I'm really intrigued as to what happens. So this is again one of those Fairy Loot books that I've gotten this year that I'm like, yeah, I really want to read this probably this year. That does bring us up to 33. Oh, she was shaking. I told you it was gonna be a tall stack. It's bigger than me sitting down. So we end at 33, which is not bad at all. I was hoping that we could stay in the 20s, but my friend getting rid of books just kind of happened to add on, and a lot of the books that I was reading in June just happened to be a lot of ebooks and things being borrowed instead of a lot of physical ones, and that's okay. We'll get through it. You'll see. July is gonna be great. I only bought the Fairy Loot book, obviously, but I did end up getting 4 books. I'm currently still reading Red Rising with my husband. I think we're halfway through the book. It's gonna be slow. I started the 4th Percy Jackson book last night. It's all the way back here in there. It doesn't have its pretty cover on it because I take it off when I read them, but I'm reading the 4th book of the Percy Jackson series, Battle of the Labyrinth. I started that last night. As well as on my Kindle, I am reading Emily Henry's new book, Great Big Beautiful Life, because that is our book club book for June, and I know June's over and I say I'm still reading it, but I am pretty close to finishing it, and I only started it a few days ago. And I knew I could do that because for Emily Henry, it doesn't take me long to read it. We're talking about the book tomorrow on July 2nd, and I'm 66% of the way done. I had to put the book down last night because I was really, really tired. I'm probably gonna read a lot of it today. And my wanna reads are obviously those books that I said that are on my summer TBR 30 books, as well as I am participating in one of my booktubers that I really like to watch, Becca Books and Bujo. I'm participating in her July TBR-a-thon, like deck of TBR-a-thon. She does this thing where she has like different prompts for different suits and numbers and all of that kind of stuff for a deck of cards. And I think that's so cool, and I love watching her do it. I could never actually do that for myself because it's too much up to chance of what you have to read. And I like choosing what I read a lot more. They have a whole point system for us to do, and I drew 3 cards to start the month because I like to read multiple books at once. So I wanted to make sure that the books that I'm like going to be starting or anything like that, because I'm really in a place to be starting books right now. I wanted to make sure that the books I was starting were ones that would actually get me points instead of starting a book that I'm like, oh, I hope I pull the card for this. Like I did in this video, I updated you on my May challenge and what I did. I will update you on the July challenge when we do our Shrink the Shelf for July. I know this is a long one because I was doing both May and June, but we have quite the impressive stack here, I must say, and I am very excited for all of the books that I got off of my physical TBR as well as the books that I have added to it. I'm very excited, but I promise you we're going to be getting a lot off of my shelves because we are also going to the beach this month and it's book girly beach weekend, and so there's going to be plenty of time for reading. That is all that I have for you. Let me know if you liked this long version of talking about all of these different things, and if you have other book challenges that you want to see me try out and try to do, because I love a good book challenge. I feel like it motivates me a lot more to read my books. And with that, I'll see you next month.